Zwanele Mjwanti from Wits SRC on the line or via Skype. We have Graham Block. Thanks so much. Graham, by the way, is an educational reformist. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Zwanele, just give us the latest update. There are unofficial reports that one person died in the protest who was a staff member, wasn't necessarily participating in the disruptions.
Okay, thanks for having me. So there's one of our workers from a residence called Jubilee. So what happened on the first day of the strike, in fact, there was a bit of students were trying to wake each other up, and then there was fire extinguishers that happened to be blown into the residence. It happened that the worker had a medical condition, so with the lungs and stuff, so then it became problematic with the fire extinguishers in the whole residence. So she couldn't make it, and yeah, so it is official. It's true that one of the workers have actually left us.
Was this in relation to the protest, or was, as you're saying, an accident that?
It was an accident that took place in one of the residences. The worker was not participating in a strike. It was not somewhere where the students were beating each other up and happened to, in fact, injure or whatever to the worker.
All right.
It was an accident.
Okay. Let's get back to the discussion at hand with the referendum. Wits now calling for a referendum to get votes in terms of who wants to continue with their studies. I assume all other students want to do so, but obviously this is going to put a quick end to the protest, if you will.
Well, I think one of the most important things that we have to look at as society is how do we address the bigger question, the social responsibility of the nation to educate its children. That's, to me, very fundamental that we have to actually look at that. More than anything else, that's very fundamental. We know that there is a fee commission that is doing its work in terms of hammering out the financial model. But in the meantime, the most important thing that has to be done is a reflection of what are the critical things that must actually be addressed. I don't think we can leave it only to the students and the student leaders alone. It is a broader socio-political and economic issue that the entire nation must actually look at. That's how I see it. And as to whether there is a merit in calling for the referendum, I think to me that actually addresses the symptoms, not the deeper causes. We should broadly look at the deeper issues that face South Africa today. Government, business, civil society, and everybody, including student formations, must actually then, at a certain stage, in my view, come together to actually, in a summit form, address the bigger issues. I would like to suggest also that while there is this issue of universities saying they are poor, they cannot be able to afford lower fee increases, I would like to challenge them to say that let them also do an introspection of looking at what is the fat that they can prune out. What are the cost-saving opportunities in universities in order that they can be able to have an affordable regime of fee increases.
Okay.
To me, that's fundamental.
All right, and those are broader issues, Sitahi, but the referendum is pending. Of course, we told that by the end of the week it will go ahead. Do you have any control over this?
Cindy, you know, it's a funny thing. And I mean, the VCO knows, SET knows that this is a joke. Habib knows this is not an issue of referendum. They've been trying to pull a lot of threats, trying to eradicate students from residences, saying that they found petrol bombs. I mean, they've been saying a lot of things to taint our call of free and quality education, which we're not backing from, you know. So he must try the referendum and see if it's going to work, because no one is going to go to class unless we have addressed the national questions. So I agree very well here when we're speaking about that. There is a broader issue here, and Habib knows that. So let's not try to now think that we can treat these small symptoms and so forth. People need to get into one room and solve the issue.
But aren't you now infringing on the students that are not protesting, those that will be graduating at the end of this year, who are likely to miss their exam because of the protest?
The more Abu Habib are doing the runaround, the more they are damaging the academic project, because they've been, for instance, you can see him, he's having an exclusive interview. He's not on the ground, he's not in the university. So the more they're doing the running around, vice chancellors, the ministry, treasurer, and all of them, as long as they're still running around and not coming into the party for us to discuss what are the way forwards in this matter, that, by the way, they know, which is why I'm saying, Cindy, that they know that this is not an issue of a referendum, of saying that let's just vote who wants to go to class and not go to class. This is not about that. They are really trivializing the systematic exclusions that exist in the universities, the inequalities that exist in the universities, and the call, the genuine call of students to have access to higher education.
Do you think it was an unfair condemnation, if you will, where Vice Chancellor Adam Habib had made an example with in the 80s, where it was liberation before education, that this could potentially be a lost generation?
Well, obviously the context was different to the context now. At that stage, obviously, there was a bigger political liberation agenda by the black people to be liberated, and the context says it all in that term. Today, we have got a liberated South Africa, where there are very serious substantive issues on the table, and the challenge we have the challenges we have are very, very big. And what young men like him would like to actually see happen is to ensure that the constitutional right of access to tertiary education is realized. And that is a very fair question.
Yeah.
What then must happen, in my view, is then we have to come up with very creative ways of addressing that. An issue of referendum, I think, is more of addressing symptoms rather than the cause.
But it has the potential of dividing the students as well, because you have to admit that there are those who would much rather either sit on the fence or take the option of not participating.
So, I mean, for instance, at Wits we're in the last block of the year. So we're supposed to be writing exams in like 3 weeks' time, you know. So there are degrees to be conferred. But not only that, there's also people that need to move to the next year of study. There are student learners that are busy preparing for their matric exams that need to come into the system, which is why I'm saying that I think it's a bit of unfair for university management to think that they can just impose a referendum and, hey, we're going to just accept it, the fact that 60 people have voted to go back to class, and all of the 40% of the people that don't have their fees cleared are just going to say, okay, fine, we agree to the system. Because we know very well as to why those students went into the protest. And I'm saying, Cindy, the more we run around and not solve the issue, the more we're going to create these problems for the students that need to have their degrees conferred. I'm one of those students that need to have their honors conferred by the end of the year. However, I understand that we need a structural reform. We need to answer this question, and we need the university to come into the party.
Zonela, as we take a call, on the monitor here, there are some comments made by students who want to complete their studies this year. So while you read that at leisure, we'll speak to Ishmael in Pietermaritzburg. Hi, Ishmael. Hello, Ishmael.
Hi. Thank you very much for airing your program. I'm very pleased because at least it shows that you are concerned about the students as well.
You're welcome, Ishmael. What's your comment?
My comment is this year. I was a student in 1976, and we helped as a coordinated effort to topple the apartheid government. And I'm so sad that today, in South Africa, the students have to struggle so much to get their voices heard. And I believe that the Secretary General of the ANC, Mr. Gweri Mantashe, made a very sad statement the other day when he said the students are not doing this country any favors by studying and that he will close the universities. I think that is a poor reflection of how the system should work, because the students need to be heard. They have been struggling for a long, long time. And I believe, honestly, that the only reason there is violence on the campus is because the students are not being listened to.
Ishmael, thanks so much for taking the time to call in. And again, the political doublespeak doesn't help in this case, because as Mzwanele is saying, there needs to be tangible solutions on the table going forward that all can buy into, but that's not happening. Sitahi, do you think this is going to be possibly one of the biggest blemishes on the South African education system and the country?
I think what the caller has just said, I agree with them 100%. That we actually have to look at the bigger picture. We also have to show respect to the students as well, that They also have to be heard. Their voice is very important. After all, we talk of the things that affect them the most. Access to education is a non-negotiable thing. As to how we make that possible, it is something that we have to workshop together as South Africans. That's very important. I think we are challenged, and I think university heads also have to actually make sure that they actually then start understanding that the students are not going to back down in view of all the things that they want to. I think what is very critical then is to ensure that they reach out to one another and have open discussions with them and look at how they can actually hammer out what I normally would like to call a modus vivendi, to actually try to reconcile the mutually antagonistic agendas that may
Meanwhile, I mean, the clock is ticking. Exams need to be written, and there are students who've written to the university. They've just released those emails that we were showing on the monitor, with parents also saying, why can't you have this in tandem? On the one side, a peaceful demonstration, and the other side, allow those that want to complete their degrees.
I don't know how many times I've said this, that where we are today is as a result of not being listened to. Like he's saying now that free education is a call we've been raising for the past 15 years. The whole of this year, Cindy, we've spent in boardrooms with the vice chancellors, with the ministry, trying to reach a goal and understand each other. We never go to a protest because it's fancy to go to a protest. It must be understood by the members of the public that it's when we reach a deadlock and the students can't buy our voices anymore. Because we keep telling students it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine. Let's wait for the minister to announce. Let's wait for the minister to do this. We hope the minister is going to say this. We've raised 1 and 2, 3 and 4 issues. So we're here now and we're stressing that until we come, guys, and find amicable solutions moving forward, that's how we're going to solve the issue. Because, for instance, I mean, what's the arrogance from the SG, like the speaker, like the caller was mentioning, that teach them a lesson? I just wanted to make an input on that one. You see, if you are saying we're making, if this is about us and our future, let me tell you, the government gets bulk of its income from taxes. Who pays taxes? People that work. What do you need to work? A qualification. What's that qualification? A degree. So you need to go to university to get that qualification. So how would the SG feel if everyone who's working said that, well, this is our money, don't tax it?
All right, Pilar in Durban, hello to you. Thanks for holding. What's your question or comment?
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
All right, man. You see, I think all of us, we agree that the call as it is right now is correct to actually ask for fees to fall. We all agree on that one. But the way things are happening now, I think the timing altogether is actually wrong, because everyone should be writing exams and it's towards the end of the year right now. My question here is, why wait till towards the end of the year? Because if these things are raised during the beginning of the year, then as the year goes on, most likely solutions will actually come up. And now it's the end of the year. And for me personally, I think this call, as much as it's so good, but unfortunately, it's highly unlikely to happen now and actually benefit this generation of ours. So the best thing for us is to look at the fact that we're fighting for our future generation, because as for us right now, we've missed the bus in terms of free education.
All right, Pilar, point taken. Thank you so much for calling in. Why now, when you could have vented this out earlier on in the year? Okay,
thanks. I think let's just assist the caller. So after Feesmustfall happened last year, in October, we're getting the 0% fee increment. The president sets 2 commissions, the Ministerial Commission, which looked at the possible fee framework for 2017. That means the possible fee increment, how is the poor going to be subsidized and what have you. And the second one was to look at the possibility or the feasibility, therefore, of fee-free higher education. And we've kept campuses running simply because the minister had not responded. What would have been our ideal outcome of the ministerial report would have been to say, okay, guys, your cry has been heard. There will be a moratorium on all fee increments until the realization of free and quality education. So when the caller is saying, why are we striking now towards the end of the year, it's the same phone call I got from my mom. And I've said, the reason why it's now, we didn't want to be presumptuous. We hoped that the minister was in fact going to understand the pressure that the sector currently is experiencing. So we are only protesting now because the report of the minister has come out now. It did not come out in January. If it had come out in January, we would be talking a different story.
All right, let's take another caller. Durban is really ablaze, or rather, tonight. Welcome to you. Sorry, I missed your name. Welcome, and what's your comment or question?
Hi, Dan here from Durban.
Hi, Dan. Hi, go ahead.
Hi, Cindy.
Hello, what's your comment or question?
Yes, I'm a bit concerned as to why the government is keeping quiet on this. They should rather rally around like the Codesta style of getting together and voicing their opinion, because they can't only leave it to the higher education minister to do this. And secondly, students must realize it's their own professional choice that they are going to university to study. It's for their own benefit. The free fee should be for the students, for the children at primary level and secondary school. Okay? And they must realize they are simply burning the future. It's all going to come round the table when they want to discuss a way for future further.
Dan, thanks so much for your call. Eunice, you are in Pretoria. Hello to you and welcome. What's your comment or question?
Hi, Cindy, and your guest in the studio.
Welcome.
My comment is I support the students as a parent. The students are the ones who fought for our IDs. They fought that they cut standard 6 from school. We benefited from it. So even now, they must fight to win because there is money. The priorities are the ones that are crooked. Nobody negotiated with us for the e-tolls. So the students are better. They are negotiating. They must fight to win before I die. Thank you. Thanks
so much, Eunice, and I'm sure you're going to live a very healthy and prosperous life. Thanks for calling in. Is this referendum going to betray the revolution, or are there bigger issues that are already betraying the revolution of the fees must fall?
Well, a referendum is a side track, quite frankly, and with due respect to the proper propagandists of that. I think we should also look at the rationale behind what the minister has put on the table as well. Those are interim measures applicable for 2017, pending the finalization and tabling of a sustainable fee model for universities. I think, to me, it's very, very important that we must actually try to work our brains around that and see. The emphasis there, as I was listening to that and interpreting what the minister was saying, is the emphasis on assisting poor families and obviously poor students, at the same time calling upon the families that can be able to afford paying for their children to do so.
Okay, very briefly, Ms. Wanele, before we let you go, are you afraid of taking the referendum that you will lose hands down with the majority wanting to go back to class?
So, I mean, there's greater issues at play. Looking at the VETS population itself, and like I was reiterating how it's not a VETS issue. It's a general student populace issue in South Africa currently. So I'm really interested to see what is the desired outcome of SET, of the Senior Management Committee of the university, because if you are going to say that let's go to class, as if there's a minority group of students that said we don't want to go to class and there was no reason for not doing so. So, I mean, that's a bit of, that's really dubious.
Will you participate in the referendum, though?
As to vote if I want to go back to class or not, personally, I will not participate in the referendum. Thanks.
Okay. So Aluta, continue with the struggle.
We have to fight the system, and we have to get free and quality education as the only thing that makes sense. And we all agree. I'm very happy with the last caller that understands where we are. There needs to be serious. Lastly, actually, I must say what I think should happen. What I think should happen, we all know what's the problem here, all of us. I think the student leaders, vice chancellors, the Treasury, Department of Higher Education, as well as corporate South Africa need to come into one room and discuss the issues at play and come out with solutions that are going to favor the majority of South Africans moving forward in this country.
All right, Mzwanele, we're going to have to leave it there. Sitare Khomo, political analyst, thanks indeed. Mzwanele Njwanti is from Wits SRC. You at home, thanks indeed for being our third panelist on this debate. We appreciate your contribution. We are on at ANN7 TV, or you can simply email, that's producers or assignment at ANN7.com.